Hello, hello, and welcome, wonderfully curious humans. This is my little segment and contribution to the Global Wellness Conference that I'm sure you've been enjoying thus far. I am here to speak about something we call fear, and not in the mumbo-jumbo sense that we all understand it as. There are many that feel they are immortal and tolerant to fear, yet it is something very intrinsic. It is something that every human has, but more on a very, very unique scale. We're not talking about fear of heights. We're not talking about a fear of death. We're not talking about those very common seeming topics that pop up when you think about fear. No. I am the founder of Blueprint Therapy, which deals with the subconscious. And thus, your blueprint is your subconscious template for reality. And within that template, it is designed, it is absolutely has one intrinsic duty. It is to keep you safe. And it keeps you safe by exposing you to only what seems familiar to you. So familiarity is safety to your body on the subconscious level. So we're going to speak about what allows the body to feel safe, your unique blueprint, your unique subconscious limitations, and why most people live from a place of fear as opposed to love or creation. If I had to tell you that most people, 99.9% of the time, live from a place of prevention. That's right. Imagine living a life of prevention. Just about every other moment of the day, be they micro choices, macro choices, it would probably allow you to feel a little bit uncomfortable. You'd probably want to push against it and say, no, Isabelle. How could that possibly be true? I make conscious choices. I'm sure that I don't live a life of prevention. What are you talking about? And this is why it is so intrinsically, innately important to go back and understand what blueprint you are running on and what core fear you are running on. So, without further ado, I am Isabelle Meiring, founder of Blueprint Therapy. And Blueprint Therapy, in a nutshell, is looking at your subconscious template, like I say. And when we talk about the subconscious, I don't want you to have any form of a separation between the body and the mind. Everybody seems to feel that due to our biology classes in school, the mind is the brain, when the mind is completely non-local in truth, and the mind is the entire body. So your subconscious is your entire body. It's a question of your biofeedback. It's a question of your nervous system and your complex nervous system and responses. Conscious, when I say to you your subconscious, what I'm really referring to is your body. Your body holds the library of everything back there in your subconscious. And if you want a further definition, just to allow it to remain slightly more simple, because it truly is simple, is that the subconscious is 95%. 95% of your capacity. The conscious is 5%. So if I had to tell you that the blueprint template for your reality that you are running on is in that 95% subconscious, so it's not conscious to you, yet your body is running on that, functioning on that like a program, like a template, and allows only that which resonates with your template for reality to happen, you would probably want to grasp and grab and reach at any opportunity you could possibly find to uncover what is back here. If that's the program, the template, the reactions, the choices, the fears, the decisions that you are running on, right? Okay, so we're looking at the 95% versus 5% conscious, okay? And this 95% in the background, it allows your reality to be what it is. It decides what is safe and familiar and what is not. The body will never choose something that seems unfamiliar. Unfamiliarity is not safe as far as the primal body, i.e. subconscious, is concerned. So it's all about what you were exposed to. It's all about a template that seemed to be your template for reality, and how that has made the foundation for safety and survival for your body, because the only duty that it has is to allow you to survive, keep you alive. That is your body's only duty. So again, we go back to the very primal root of where this template comes from. So what is familiar to the body is safe. What is familiar to the mind is safe. Understand? Okay. So now going forward to my very absolute statement of 99.9% of people are running on a life of prevention. If I had to ask you, what is the opposite of fear? Most conscious, let's say if you've read a great deal of self-help books, self-development, done a few courses, many of you would say love. Many people say the opposite of fear is love. Now if we had to go further down, think about acting from a place of fear. What does that mean? That means when you are in fear, you want to prevent something negative, bad, or unknown, uncertain from happening. If you have a fear, you are going to do everything in your power to prevent it, right? That's just logical. So let's say fear is prevention. And what is the opposite of prevention, I would ask you? My answer is creation. Because when you are running in a space of prevention, it is one track. It means you are preventing one thing from happening. Anything outside those borders is not possible. Anything that is unfamiliar is not an option. Then moving over to the opposing is creation. Many people are completely disconnected from their creation power. If you were without fear, i.e. without prevention, without the need for prevention, without the body acting in a space of this cannot happen at any cost, any and all costs, I will use in order to prevent this from ever happening again, or from ever happening, full stop. This very one track tunnel. When you are in a space of creation, you are creating every moment. Simple as that. You are creating from a space of your natural essence without limitations that come from your old blueprint template of reality. So the opposite of prevention is creation, point blank. When you are running in a space of control, due to the fear of loss of control, due to the fear of the loss of familiarity, due to the fear of uncertainty, not having control, etc. When you are in a space of control, it is only you, and you can only go as far as you alone can go, and only know as much as you alone can know. So you close off every single wall, every single point of possible insight, inspiration, innovation around you. Whether you see it as the universe, whether you see it as consciousness, you cut off every stream of that when you're in a space of control, when you're in a space of fear. Okay. When you're in a space of creation, you open all of that up. It doesn't need to know the how. It doesn't need to be controlled. It just allows itself to create itself in whichever way, shape, or form that comes through you. So, the opposite of fear, love. Of prevention is creation. Now that brings me to the core fear. Every single unique individual and person has what we call a core fear. This is the root, the trunk of what I call your tree of limitations for your reality. And every Tom, Dick, Harry, Sally, Susan, and Kate has this core fear. This is what allows any old belief of limitation, any belief of limitation, that non-safety, that fear to occur. So it branches out from this core fear and becomes a set of characteristics, a set of behaviors, personality traits that aren't really in essence yours. You did not come in with them. So the core fear is something which the body decides it experienced once, at least once. It only takes one time. If, for instance, you are 4, 5, 6 years old, pick a number. And I'd like you to see if you can apply this to yourself. If a certain age comes up, a certain moment, a certain situation, the body feels something in a moment that is so uncomfortable. It's just absolutely uncomfortable, unbearable. It was so unpleasant. And I see this with clients all over the world, whether it's being left behind by a parent after school, whether it's being chosen last on a netball team, whether it's being sexually traumatized by a family member or anyone for that matter, but it naturally occurs within the first few years of life. It doesn't have to be something major. These things can be very minor seeming to us adults. But nevertheless, it is possibly the most uncomfortable, unpleasant thing that the body experienced to date, as far as you as a growing human went. So the body decides, let's call you Kate. The body decides, Kate, this is so uncomfortable and unpleasant. I am never going to let this happen ever again. And the body takes upon itself the survival mechanism that it is wired for, and it doesn't know the difference between being chased by a bear or being excluded from the netball team. Keep that in mind. You are a primal human being, very intelligent, and that is why we need to uncover what safety mechanisms, survival mechanisms your body took to be true, because when we find them, we can change them. So Kate, it says to Kate, I am never going to let this happen again at any and all costs. I will avoid this from happening. Let's say she got picked last for a netball team. Let's use something quite minor, seeming, that had a large impact on little Kate. And little Kate could be in her 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s now and still be sitting with this core fear that I'll explain. She then experienced a feeling of rejection. Rejection, outcast, what else shall we say? Isolation. But let's stick mostly with rejection. So we are going to label her core fear, for the sake of the practice, core fear of rejection. And if you had to see in your mind the tree trunk, the roots and the tree trunk, and the trunk being fear of rejection. So with her body deciding, I'm never going to let this feeling of rejection ever occur again, and we will do anything in order to allow that to not happen again. So begins a cycle of prevention, so begins a cycle of the manipulation and the manufacture of the persona due to a core fear. And this is just a chunk. This is the core fear. Now as Kate moves through life, unawares that her body has now a survival mechanism, a prevention mechanism at any and all cost against rejection. What does it do? It looks at a moment, wherever she may be and whatever may be happening from that moment forward for years and years onwards, and looks for any threat of rejection, any similar feeling, any possible potential for a similar feeling to occur, so that it may prevent it from ever happening again. The reason that this sticks so hard and is so sticky as far as the core fear and as far as prevention mechanisms and living in a space of prevention for most of the time is, your body is simply doing its job. It was so uncomfortable, it would rather have died. It was so uncomfortable and so unpleasant in that moment, and experiencing that rejection, for instance, that it equated that to death. It equated that to the opposite of survival, because it was so terribly uncomfortable. And it may seem minor, again, like I say, but to a developing human and to a child, to Jane or Kate or Jason or whomever may be watching this, you may be 30, 40, 50, 60 now, and little you experience that as such a major feeling and sensation within the body that it would rather prevent that from happening ever again, because it was feeling worse than death itself. And although that sounds melodramatic, remember your body's only got one function only. Its duty is to keep you alive. So when you are terribly uncomfortable, it doesn't tell the difference between, like I say, being chased by a bear and feeling the sense of rejection that was so horrid. So fast forward a few years. Kate is, or shall we say a couple of decades, Kate sees subconsciously the potential for rejection, which is an absolute no-no, a complete averse, avoid at all costs. It doesn't matter, because you'd rather die than feel that, says the body, the primal being. Primal survival. So she reverts to feeling and solidifying beliefs like, I must compare myself in order to be loved. Because comparison is a surefire way to make sure that you won't be rejected. If you're doing what others are doing and they're not being rejected, well, that means you won't be rejected. So that, again, further and further suppresses the natural self. It further and further suppresses the natural reactions, the natural want, innovation, creation, the self, completely in essence, is suppressed by this prevention of the core fear from happening, spawning off these other behaviors and these other beliefs. So now it is a character trait of comparison. Sometimes you see chronic comparison, and you see this in women a lot, and in ways, many shapes and forms, men naturally. It all depends what your core fear is, and I'll run through a few points, so stay with me as to how you can decipher and decide and resonate and feel into what your core fear may be. There are only about 5 main ones. So Kate then develops severe comparison as a behavior trait, a personality trait, and it's something which allows her then to develop a great deal of anxiety, because when you're suppressing yourself, your natural self, and you've lived with this comparison for so long, you are living a fraction. Then what we would look at is, because the fear of rejection is such an aversion state, an averse state, it would find that threat, find that danger, even where there isn't. So you can imagine how her relationships and friendships would go from there. She would also develop a belief of, I am not enough as I am. So that's 2, the comparison, I am not enough as I am. We can go on this for hours, days, as to what such a small inkling that the minor or major incident of what developed and seeded the core fear, your body trying to allow you to stay safe, away from discomfort, away from unpleasant feelings, away from that occurring ever again, and how it spawns off into a life that completely expresses and covers your natural essence. So we can go on about how the rest of her life would go for days. She wouldn't feel confident to express herself for fear of rejection. She wouldn't feel confident to take any initiative. Beliefs like, I am not worthy of being heard, I am not worthy, full stop. we can go on for hours, like I say. So it's very important to look at what, and it's with utmost respect, compassion, and love that you should understand that your body simply got the wrong message. It's simply doing its job. It loves you that much. It is your complete system. It worships you and it works for you. It is in service of you, and it's simply got the wrong message. So once you find out what your core fear is, the next step is learning how to tell your body the lie that it found within the safety of prevention. It is stepping into priming your body to feel comfortable with the opposite of that feeling of prevention. It is telling the truth to your body compassionately and letting it know that that is no longer safe whatsoever, and it never has been. But before I go there, there are 4 or 5 main components, main core fears, and I'm going to say them out loud to you now. And the way that you will know, you will get a twinge in your stomach, in your heart, somewhere in your body. You'll feel a resonance when I say yours out loud, and you'll know, aha, that is mine. So the first one, fear of rejection. Number 2, fear of failure. Number 3, fear of abandonment. Number 4, fear of loss. So if you'd like, you can actually write those down. But I'm sure you felt it quite straight away as to which was most resonant with you. You don't have to understand exactly why in this very moment. You need to trust your body. When it has a certain reaction, when I say rejection or failure or abandonment or loss, see the kind of reactions within your body, how it feels, what kind of emotions come up. But surely you would have found which one really resonated for some or other reason. Write that one down. Make note of it. And start allowing yourself to look at what limitations that placed upon your body. What limitations it placed upon your mind, upon your reality, upon your thinking, upon your sense of self. Because honestly, if it experienced something that uncomfortable, like I say, it will do anything in its power to then form a great deal of mechanisms, be they small little things or large, macrocosm, every choice, every decision, whether to have honey or sugar, whether to wear white or red, whether to move here or there, whether to open the business or not. Look, it is a constant, regardless of micro choices or macro choices. If you have this core fear, if you find this core fear, then you can see how you have behaved and acted throughout your life, how it has suppressed your core self in order to keep you safe. And in every case, I speak in absolutes, 99.9% of the time, you will find that the safety that your body has found, the familiarity, is not really beneficial. What it thinks is safe is usually your greatest limitation, and that is just scratching the surface. So, the next step is really talking to your body compassionately, understanding, and letting it know that you are listening, and letting it know that it is safe to listen to you. Letting it know that it is safe to hear the truth. So tell your body the truth of that it is no longer safe to feel this feeling of prevention. There is no danger. There is no danger. That you understand it was just trying to keep you safe. It was doing its job, but it got the wrong message. And then find an opposing message. It is safe for me to be witnessed. In other words, if there's a fear of rejection, and that's what it's been running on its core fear, leading to comparison, leading to suppression of expression and every other kind, the opposite, you could say, would be, it is safe for me to feel witnessed as I am. It is safe for me to feel seen as I am. It is no longer safe for me to compare. Comparison hurts me. It has never been safe. And it's a constant reiteration. And if you'd like further exercises, a good one to do on your own is make 2 columns, lies and truths. And look at what your body has believed to be safe in terms of those mannerisms, those characteristics, like comparison, like holding your tongue for fear of rejection, like, etc. So you look at the lies and you write down, this is a lie. Write down why it's a lie. And then you decide, what is the truth? Because what I always say, and I'd like you to look straight at me, if it is a limitation, it is a lie. We are not born with any limitations. We are also not born with fears, complex fears. The only fears that you are born with are 2 simple fears. The fear of loud noises and the fear of being dropped. Complex fear is an illusion. But we need to have compassion with the body and understand how this literally runs your life in terms of what it experiences as a primal being, with the central nervous system, with these reactions, and like I say, with the template, the blueprint that it developed for your subconscious, i.e. your entire body. All right. And then a short practice that you can do. You can choose either the right hand, the left hand, doesn't matter which side. If you can catch yourself, if you're feeling anxious, or if you're about to make a decision, if you'd like to just dig in a slight bit more to find out where it's coming from, whether you are deciding what to have in your coffee, or whether you are deciding where to move, or how to open a business, or who to partner up with, large or small. Ask yourself in any moment, what am I trying to prevent? And then allow the answers to come up. Don't think about them. The body will tell you immediately, and most likely before you finish asking the question. And then ask yourself, what am I trying to create? If you are trying to prevent anything that seems non-life-threatening, that is not life-threatening, and go further down the rabbit hole. If you say you're trying to prevent financial loss, then say, why am I trying to prevent financial loss? What am I afraid of down that line? How would that occur? Keep on going until you cannot go anymore. Then go over to, what am I trying to create? Because you need to prime your body for creation rather than prevention. You need to prime your body for not lack, but flourishing, not servitude, but sovereignty. And allow it to feel safe with the feeling of creation, of sovereignty, of flourishing. Because many of us won't. Not familiar to your body will never choose that route. It can seem great and you can start on an active level, but if you're comfortable with it, it will not allow it to materialize, at least not for a sustainable period. So I hope this has, this is really just scratching the surface, but I hope this has informed you as to understanding a bit more about the fear responses, understanding how it really does run most people's lives, and how it makes your choices. You can find me at www.lifeblueprinttherapy.com, and otherwise please enjoy the rest of the absolutely wonderful conference speakers, and I'm sure there would be a place where you are able to speak amongst oneself and one another as to any reviews, as to what you think about the core fears, what you think about the talks. I trust there would be a platform available, And if not, then I'm sure that you have made your own notes and are able to continue on your curious path with all the love, reverence, and growth and expansion in the world. All right, all of my love, Isabelle Meiring.